So the next section is frequently asked questions. Now we're gonna have to make a component out of this. So yeah, let's select this one, Figma to HTML, copy, and let's edit in this one. Now I'm pretty sure everything is fine. Like we don't have to adjust anything in this export, but we do have to make this interactive. So what I'm gonna do is um, first rename these. All right, so we have the entire Figma landing page for desktop. This is only the desktop variant. We have created this by exporting it from Figma and setting up some of the styles and stuff. We didn't really modify it much, but we still have to set up the styles and everything, because if you want to submit your template to Framer Marketplace, then you have to use styles for every um, colors and text definitions. For example, here we are using the color directly. We have to create these styles with these colors instead. Okay, so now we have this FAQ section. We are missing the icons. They're actually there, but not visible. So I think what we have to do is set the set this one to be okay, it is fine. This one also has relative width. So I think what we have to do is maybe set the width for this one to fill. Yep. So we have to set the width for all of these title elements to be filled. So this one, and finally this one. Okay, the next thing is we have to make this interactive. So I'm going to select this one and create actually, I'm going to select this and create a component out of this. So FAQs. Now, the way we're going to do this is by having each variant for every answer. For example, this is question 1. So actually, we also need a variant with all of the questions collapsed. And I'm going to make this default one um, collapsed. So let me actually make this invisible, and not, not this one, but this one. And let's also set the color to be um, white. Actually, it's not white. It's a bit different. So now we have the very first container. So now we have the very first state of the component that is collapsed. Now we're gonna create the variant 1 that is gonna be question 1. And let's make this visible. And let's also give the title background of primary 400 could work. Yeah, that's fine. We can also make the icon to rotate 180 degrees. And yeah, we have the question 1 um, variant. Now let's also make the question 2 variant. So I'm gonna make this question 2, and I'm gonna, we actually have to copy this into the rest of the components. So I'm gonna copy this here, 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 here. So what we need to do now is basically just go here and enable this text. Here. Yeah, we have a problem. So the exported elements, they're not in the perfect layout. You can see in the first variant we have title and then we have the icon inside of it, but in the other variants we have the icon and the main container, which breaks the layout basically. So what we can do is select both of these and add them in a single container. And we can also make this a layout of type vertical, and we can give it a fit content height, and we can give it a fill width. So I think what we have to do is basically add padding 32 pixel. Let's check how much gap we have on these 32 pixels. That's fine. Okay, now let's get to the second variant. So this one is 32. And we have to make the background for this one to be 400, 500. Let's also make the icon to um, turn 180 degrees. And yeah, this is it. Now let's make the third variant, and let's call it version 3. And I'm gonna enable this one. Okay. Um, and let's add the background 500. Let's also make the icon 180. Let's go back and add the next one, question 4. And this one is going to be the fourth one. So let's keep this enabled. This has to be vertical. Let's add the fill color to the background, and let's set the rotation for icon to 180. And after that, we have the very last question, and that's going to be question 5. So we have the fifth variant. Now we can set this to, um, let's enable the text for the fifth variant. Let's make this. All right, so now that we have all the 5 variants of the FAQs, now the way we can wire them up is very simple. So basically from this very empty default one, we can either do it on the click of the whole section, whole thing, or we can do it on the click of the individual icons. I think a better way would be to have it on the entire entire thing, because it's much easier to just click on it and expand instead of having to click on the icon. So select the first question, and using this icon, the flash icon, we can basically drag and create an action to this one. Now in the option, basically, we select the click and set the delay to 0 and leave it as is. Now we do the same for all of the other questions. So we select question 2, create a new interaction for the second variant, because that's where we have question 2. We do the same for question 3, and we select the question 3 in the interaction. We zoom out and we do the same for question 4. We click on the flash icon and set the question for like that. And last one, we do the same for question 5. Now, basically, if we click on each one of these, you can see um, we can go to that variant, but now we can't go back by clicking on any other. But you can see that sometimes we can't go back from some of these components. For example, if we are in this component, we can't go back to this one or some other component. So to fix that, we have to add the interaction for all of these as well. So now we go to the question one section, and we select question one. You can see we already have interaction here, and it's going to question one, which is fine. But what I want it to do is, instead of keeping it on the question one, when the user clicks on the same component again, I want it to go back to this default state. So we can basically select the collapsed one. Now go to the question two, and from here we can basically uh, create an interaction for this component. And then for question three, we already have question three selected because it's coming from the default one. And if we select the fourth one, we also have the question four selected, and five should also be selected as well. Now we have to go to the question two, and we have to repeat. So basically, when we click on when we click on question one, we want it to go to the question one. And as you can see, there's already an interaction. And also from question two, we want it to go back to the default one. We don't want to keep on question two. So let's select this one and click on default. Now, if you select question three, you can see there's already an interaction. Same for the question four and same for the question five. All right, now let's go to the question three. Now, question one already has an interaction set to this one. That comes from default. Question two does not have any, so we can basically drag and set the interaction to second variant. And question three, just like before, we basically create an interaction to the default one, which is collapsed. So when user clicks on this again, it's basically set back to the collapsed state. Now select the question four, and you can see there's already an interaction. Select question five, and there's also already an interaction. And now we move on to the question four, which is the fourth variant. Now the first one already has an interaction to variant one. The second one does not. So we can create an interaction to question two. And for the question three, there's already an interaction. Question four, it doesn't have an interaction. So we can basically create one and move it to the, we have to zoom out a bit. And basically we have to move it to the collapsed state. And for the last question, it's already been set up. So we just have to move on to the last variant. Now, if you select question one, there's already an interaction. Question two doesn't have an interaction, so we can create one from here, click, and we can set it to collapsed. This is also another way to create the interaction, by the way, if you don't want to click and drag on this icon. So we select question three, it's probably already set to variant three, yep. And question four is already set. Question five, what we can do is set it to collapsed. So now our FAQ section is complete. So if I hit play, you can see I can open this question, I can open this question, I can open this question, I can go back. Or if I click on this again, you can see it collapses again. So our whole section is done. Now we can go back, and if we come back to this and hit play, you will see that we have a working FAQ section, which is nice. So yeah, let's go back to the Figma and see what we have for the next section. Okay, we seem to have a newsletter. This looks really simple, so I will just select this, Figma to HTML, copy the clipboard, and select desktop and hit paste. Did I just click the wrong one? Never mind. I think I selected the wrong one. Yeah, it's this one. So let me hit the export again, copy, paste. Okay, let's see what's missing. So the first thing is this background rectangle, and everything else seems to be good. So let me go ahead and so let me go ahead and fix this. I'm gonna make this absolute, uh, absolute. Then I'm gonna move this to be on P, which is like that. And let's also set it z index so we can actually see the text. And I think this looks fine. This is pretty much it. We just have to rename the components. Okay, so we also have our newsletter section complete. And I think now we just have to add the footer. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the footer, but remember that because it has the parent background, we can't really export it. So we just have to do it manually again. So I'm going to select the first container, Figma to HTML, copy the clipboard, and actually I have to add an extra container here. So I'm going to set this to fill, and then I'm going to paste in the footer content. Let me do the same for the other container, Figma to HTML, copy, and there we have it. So let me make this layout with vertical direction, and let's give it the fit content height, and we have to move this, actually, we can keep this here. So I think we have 80 pixel spacing here, 80 pixel, 80 pixel, 80 pixel. Yep. So let's set the padding to 80 pixel. And one more thing we have to worry about is the 80 pixel gap. So 80 pixel gap. Okay, now I think it's actually fine. The only thing we need to add is the background, which we can already copy from any other component and put it in here. So we already have our footer ready. Now I'm just gonna rename this. We also have to make a component out of the footer and header, because later we're gonna have to add a template, basically a page template. So if you want to add more pages to your template, like for example, a 404 page, or let's say a blog page, then your layout will also automatically add footer and header into those pages. So let's rename these. Okay, so in the next video, I'm going to be setting up the styles. And then after that, we're going to be creating the tablet and mobile variant of this template. And then in the last video, we will be reviewing it and submitting it to Framework Marketplace. So stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next video.